Hello and welcome back to my face and some more tanks. Today's video is going to be on the Udes 1516, a tank that was just top of the tree and a tank that is in the Season 10 of the Battle Pass. You can get a nice cool fancy little skin for it. So basically I'm going to tell you how I played it when I mocked it. So let's get into it. Now we've got a game on Rimberg. Arguably not the best map for this tank, but this matchup is pretty dreamy. I mean, you're top tier. It's the 3-4, 3-5 and 9 or whatever the hell that matchmaking is. It's pretty dreamy, and I'm facing off basically against a mouse in City here. As you can see, the Leo's already been spotted, so and I don't imagine the Batchat's going to be in City. So this position here, which you see me take, if you spawn on the south, is a very strong position to come to. You can get some nice early damage on the tanks which push up to mid, like that Leo, and any of the tanks which cross, like the Char. It's a really good position to come to. You can come to here in your TDs, your heavies, your mediums. So I recommend it. And you can see here we're picking up some nice early farm. You know, put one shot into the Leo, who basically went to the stupid position, which is the wrong side of the house. Never go there, really, unless you are sure you're not going to get spotted. And we're going to pick up a nice shot on the Batchat. Because thankfully our T-34-2 is doing a little proxy spotting job, which works pretty nicely for us. So we've already picked up 2 shots and we've put a couple of blinds into that general area, and we're looking here to see if we can find a shot onto the Leo or into the Char, but we're not really finding much. But this position can yield a lot of damage at the start. As you can see already, our team have pushed across. We've got a Conk, which is pushing behind the 50 TP prototype, which is a very aggressive move. It looks like the enemy team are playing really passive here. We're on the front foot, however we are down HP and we are down tanks, so you can say the momentum is potentially switching into our favour here, and we're going to take a nice little aggressive position here, and we're going to try and put some punish out onto the mouse, and that's what you can do with this tank. This tank has the ability to play aggressive. It has 440 alpha, as you're going to see here as we begin to farm this mouse down. It's got pretty nice heat pen. It's not 330 heat pen, it's 310 heat pen, so it's not got the same pen as the SDB, which has 330, which is also a similar tank with the hydropneumatic suspension. But this tank has stuff that the SDB doesn't, knowing as a better turret. This tank can sit Hulldown and bounce stuff. The SDB's armor, I find, never really is as reliable. And you can see this tank's got decent DPM. You know, it's got 3059 DPM. I've got it fully tricked out. I'm using Bond equipment, all the field mods. I think I'm even using the directive in this game. So yeah, when you're using the hydropneumatic suspension, you've got 13 degrees of gun depression. Good luck penning this tank's turret. You can aim for its cupola. Its left-hand side cupola is relatively weak, but good luck hitting it. It's still quite a hard hit. And yeah, this tank, when fully tricked out like I have it, you get 1.97 seconds aim time, 0.31 dispersion, and as I said, you can trick that DPM up to maybe 3,100. And you can see that gun handling coming in there with a nice shot into the guard, and the nice shots we're able to put into the mouse's lower plate and cheek. So yeah, I feel like this tank is very, very heat dependent. You've got 310 heat pen. It's nice. It's better than its 254 standard pen in APCR. And the one thing this tank does lack is shell velocity. With its APCR, you expect APCR to have around 1100, 1200. It only has 1000 meters a second shell velocity. And its heat is 840, which is pretty weak. So you have to be aware of that, as you can see here. We're making a little bit of a misplay, potentially. Basically just pushing the tempo. I could see we were entering a little bit of a stalemate, so I decided to try and go push the tempo. And I maybe was a little bit too aggressive, and I trusted the armor of this tank a little bit too much there, but thankfully we get away with it. And it allows us to come into this position, and this tank's low profile and that hydropneumatic suspension allowing us to put some farm out into there is free, which is good. So this tank's speed, as you saw there, it's pretty quick. It's 55 forwards, 22 in reverse, which is pretty okay. It's pretty much bang average for a tier 10 medium, to be honest. You're talking around the same speed as a Leo, basically. But as you've seen in this game, don't rely on this tank's armor unless you are Hulldown, basically. Unless you're hiding the hull completely, don't trust its armor. Even if you're on flat ground and you're not losing any of that gun depression, I wouldn't really trust its armor. But if you're able to go and hide, the hull, and you're able to go hull down, use that 13 degrees of hydro pneumatic suspension, this tank can and will bounce pretty hefty shells. We're talking tier 10 heavies. You struggle to bounce some tier 10 TDs, but you can bounce, APCR shells from tier 10 TDs. But there is one fundamental issue with this tank, and I'm just going to pause the replay so I can explain my thoughts on this. This tank is a bomb fire. It will go up like flames. It will just burn. Your fuel tanks in this tank, if you get hit in the front of the hull, will go about 50% of the time. So you have a bit of a choice to make here. I didn't run config, but there is the argument that you could potentially run config on this tank. Possibly in the replacement of vents. I ran, I think, vents, improved, vents, V-stabs, gun rammer, which is pretty standard for, I feel like, a tank which, it's pretty okay. I think actually, no, I ran hardening rammer V-stab, sorry. You could potentially replace the V-stabs for config or the hardening for config. But with this new experimental equipment, you could replace the hardening for a survival improvement suite, which gives you the role of a config and a hardening. So if you had that available and maxed out to tier 3, and you're trying to go for a good DPG in this tank, I'd potentially put it on. Because I think that I got set on fire 2 games in a row, burned pretty much my whole tank. You have to have a firefighting crew on this tank. If you don't run a firefighting directive, please, you will thank yourself. But yeah, this tank does burn. Be careful if you get hit in the front of the hull. So always try and avoid getting hit in the front of the hull, basically. You'd even lose your fuel tanks if you get hit through the front tracks. So be careful. You can see here, we basically just secured this flank. We've allowed our team to push out, and we're just going to put some little bit of farm out. We farm the eyes free, hit a shot into the Leo. Now we're just going to try and find some shots onto this TNH. You can see here, using that hydro pneumatic suspension, we've managed to craft ourselves an angle. As you can see here, the decent dispersion, good aim time, and relatively decent accuracy of this tank, allowing you to put some nice shots out. Which is why this tank is pretty nice on a ridge from medium distances. I feel like this tank is probably played best at medium distances on a ridge, because the gun handling is good enough. And you see, I'm just going to try and craft a shot, and I'm trying to find one, and I go, I can just shoot. And yeah, this tank's alpha is nice. 440 alpha, I find, is pretty much the golden spot for a tier 10 medium. You hit something, it hurts. I feel like the 330 alphas and the 380, 360s are a little bit low, but 440 was pretty nice, especially with heat. The heat is pretty nice, but obviously it's got lower pen than, other tier 10 mediums with heat. So yeah, you have to be careful of that. As you see here, it's just a good game. We're up to 7.2k. Like, for an average player, if you're looking at DPGs, so we're talking, I don't know, 50 to 100 WN8 if you want to talk about WN8. Probably aim for around 3k on this tank. A bit of a challenge for you. But if you're pretty competent and you're a good player and you can go for DPGs, I feel like you can get a 4k on this tank pretty nicely, pretty easily. I got 3.8 when I marked it. But yeah, you can definitely, get 4k on it. And you see there. Unfortunately, the gun handling lets me down a little bit, because it is not Leo-like. It's, not STB-like. It's Udes-like. It is kind of its own little niche. But yeah, that's how I'd recommend to play this tank. Play it as like a mid-range sniper. You use it to push the tempo, but don't rely on its hull armor. It can side scrape. You just have to be careful about the caliber of guns you're facing. I think you don't want to side scrape against anything with more than 135mm in caliber. So you can side scrape against tier 10 mediums pretty nicely. You just have to be careful to not hit in the front. Fuel tanks will go. Just be aware you do have a cupola that can be penned, and don't rely on its armor against tier 10 heavies and TDs with decent pen. Other than that, I hope you enjoyed this little video. I'm going to show you the equipment that I suggest and the field mods that I suggest just now. But yeah, If you liked this, give me a like. Tell me what you think of it in the comments. And yeah, I shall see you all soon. Bye.